Good evening, my beautiful soul followers. So I'm just popping on here this evening. Had a busy day and wanted to pop in here and connect with you guys. So the other day on actually a couple different profiles, my hair is tweaking. On a couple different profiles, I posted the question about what you wish you had known when you were younger about sex. What you really wish you had known. And I got an amazing response on both YouTube and my private Facebook and also my page. And I also got some just private messages coming in, and it was really quite interesting about it. And I asked this question because I had taught male orgasm camp a few days prior, and every time I do camp, people tell me, I wish I had known this stuff when I was a kid. I would have saved myself so much drama, so much trauma, and in truth, I just would have enjoyed my relationships more. And so I find this really, really interesting because we can look back at our childhood, teenage years. Somebody would ask me, well, how young? And I'm like, well, whatever you feel like was young. And if I think back to growing up as a kid, as a teenager, as a sexual human being, which we all are sexual human beings, I really restricted. I really shut it down. If you could talk to people who knew me before I was a sex coach, before I got into Tantra and learning, they would have said that Addison is completely different than she is now because I did so much healing. And as I was asking this question, I was, of course, pondering my own growth process. And in order to answer this for myself, I think I really thought, I was like, okay, I would have known breath work. I would have known Tantra. I would have known about pleasure. I would have known about boundaries, because most young women do not know about boundaries and how to actually verbalize them, to know what they want, to know what they don't want. And so I thought about it, and in truth, my answer to that same question, I'm going to get into some of your answers, but my answer to that same question is, I wish I would have known how healing sex can be to the human soul. I can tell you that I've done so much therapy work on myself throughout the years. Remember, I was a therapist for years, working in therapy, and I can tell you, I have done my fair share of cognitive work and even some experiential work. And I can tell you that healing my sex, really stepping in there, really dropping into and surrendering to the pleasure, really allowing myself to feel myself, feel that deeper piece of me, was the most healing thing I've ever done. It is one of the most healing things I've ever done. And so I think if I was to answer this myself, it really would be, I wish I had known as a teenager, as a young girl growing up, that sex can be healing for the human soul. And some other things I heard was, I wish I knew about breath work and how important the breath is to our sex, to moving that energy up from our genitals into our heart space and to other chakra points in the body. And then also, I heard a lot about pleasure. I wish I had known how much pleasure that sex could bring. Men, hands down, you were like, I wish I understood the female body more. I wish somebody had broken it down and taught me that a woman's not like a porn star, isn't gonna like on demand be like, So I think I heard that consistently from men. And women, I heard a lot about, I wish I had known my own body more. I wish I had set boundaries more. And the fact is, I think that's beautiful to recognize, oh, I wish I had known that when I was younger. But guess what? We can't go back to being a teenager again. And so while we can work with the people in our lives, that are kids and teenagers and help them to gain a better perspective, a more holistic perspective of our sexuality and sex as an act as well, but also just our sexuality in general. My hair is still tweaking. I'm having issues with my hair today. Having hair issues, even though I'm all dressed up, having hair issues. But we can't go back. But I find it interesting because people go, I wish I'd known that when I was younger. But then they act like they know everything about sex now. I don't give a fuck if you are 20. I don't care if you're 30. I don't care if you're in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. Guess what? You can still learn more about your sexuality. You can still learn more about the depth of that. You can still heal your sex more. You can still expand it and feel more pleasure. I am a sex and relationship coach. I am an orgasm frequency coach. And guess what? I am always learning more and more and more about my sexuality, about my pleasure, about my boundaries. Because guess what? Our sex is a mirror to our lives. And so a lot of you answered that you wish you had known things when you were younger. But my question is, have you stopped learning? Have you truly stopped learning? And I think a lot of people, we age and then we get into a relationship where we're like, I know all there is to know. I know all there is to know. There's not really much more to explore. And when you do that, you say, I don't have anywhere else to grow in my life, because our sex is related to all of our growth. It shows us our shadow, it shows us our light, it shows us our blocks, it shows us where we can surrender. There's so many pieces that sex brings into the picture of our lives. And that does not mean you have to be consistently having sex all the time like a rabbit. Like, that's not the case, but it is to be embracing that and learning and tapping into it consistently. But a lot of times we stop doing that. And I was actually even thinking, I was actually at the grocery store today. Now you know what Addison thinks that about at the grocery store. I was at the grocery store, I was getting some food, and I had this moment where I was thinking about this question, and also like some moments I had when I was a kid. I was an older teenager, and how when I used to make out with my boyfriend, when we would play or heavy pet, things like that, I would get so aroused. And I think, well, do I drop into those same things at the same level, with the same level of arousal now? Or am I like, okay, yeah, he just kissed me. Like, I get that all the time. Do we drop into those little pieces? And so my message today is really that a lot of us went, oh yeah, I would have grown up differently. I would have added this and this and this to my sexual learning. But the fact is, you're still growing up. You're still growing up. You're still aging. You're still advancing in your life. And so have you given up on that growth process? Have you given up on yourself? Because it's not about the hardcore sex. It's about that healing, like I said, that healing process. It's about the pleasure of life process. Somebody even said, I wish I had known that sex wasn't that important. And now when I actually was like, I disagree with this one. I really disagree with this one, because I believe sex is incredibly important. I believe our sexuality is a cornerstone to who we are. Who we are. Are there other beautiful, important things in our life? Yes. Yes. However, our sexuality is a piece of who we are. And if we try to disregard a piece of who we are at our very, very core, then guess what? We are not accepting self. And if we're not accepting self, then that's an issue. And that is an important piece of our lives, is to accept ourselves, to see ourselves, to allow ourselves to grow and expand in that way. And so my challenge for you this evening, I thought that this was going to be a little bit shorter, but I got on my soapbox. My challenge for you guys today is to think, are you really growing still in your sexuality? Are you growing up sexually? I don't care how old you are. There is always something more to learn. I love when people come to my orgasm camps of every form or fashion, my workshops, even my straight energy tantra workshops, and they're like, I learned so much. That's like, I love that. I'm like, oh, I love that you learned so much. I love that you are expanding your mind. It's one of the best things that a coach can hear is, my goodness, I learned so much. I really, truly learned so much today. And I'm like, I feel so honored in those moments. But if you want to get a coach, I'm an awesome fucking coach. If you want to get a coach, I would be happy to work with you and expand, because I do believe when we have somebody beside us helping us see our pitfalls, it is much easier. This is why sometimes I get my own coaches to see my own pitfalls, because I still have my shit. The fact is, you can still do your growth, whether you want to go into the coaching and find somebody. You can still do your growth even without that. There's workshops, there's books to read. I really encourage you to explore Tantra and the true meaning of Tantra, not this belief system that everybody has, but the true meaning of Tantra. And just because if you would have changed anything about your growing up sexually, I encourage you to make the difference now in your life. And then also to make the difference in those around you, in talking about sex in a healthy way, in talking to kids and nephews and nieces and all of that in a healthy way. And then talk to yourself about sex in a healthy way and keep exploring, because like I said, sex can be incredibly healing. If I would have chosen anything to have learned, it would have been that sex is healing and sex is beautiful, and that I deserve the pleasure, and that the pleasure can be healing of itself and help you learn yourself on a much greater level. So I would still love to hear some of your comments. If some of you are like, oh, I would have loved to learn that, I would have loved to learn that, then please post below. If you want to work with me one-on-one, get your butt kicked, get loved on a little bit, and learn your orgasmic frequency, not just for the bedroom, but in truth, for your life, then reach out to me at addisonbell.net. Other than that, I hope you guys have an amazing evening. I know I'm about to go have an amazing evening, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another Addison Unleashed. Love you guys.